Hey guys, my name is Ben and today I'll be talking about and comparing both SmackDown and Raw in 2022. Since the draft, I'd say both rosters have seen massive changes and I just really wanted to have my say on it. Also, I just want to say that if I mess up at all when I'm recording this, it's currently 4:30 in the morning and I have not slept because I've been so hung up on making this video. So, before I start, if you read the title, you'll see I mentioned the year 2002. As it was the first year we saw the brand split, and what Vince has been doing is basically, I'd say, sacrificing SmackDown to make Raw appear as the better show rather than have them both rise equally. It's almost like he makes it worse on purpose. Like, you could go back in history and see this happen in 2002, 2016 and most recently 2021. SmackDown in these years was an amazing show, but the year after, whether it may be a draft or a superstar shakeup, you'll notice how Raw takes almost everything that made SmackDown good. It's like SmackDown is the guinea pig for the WWE to run trials on, and everything that's good is put onto Monday Night Raw. I'll take the most recent year, for example, to show this, how it, there we go, to show how this is the case. First, I wanted to dissect both rosters. Starting with SmackDown, I'd say they have stars I would consider main event, such as, well, of course, the biggest draw in the company, Roman Reigns. Every time he's on the screen, every time he turns up, all eyes are on him. If he speaks, you listen, you know. Now, of course, it's frustrating because he's the undisputed world champion and he does not show up weekly, but it's a huge deal when he's there. From there, it gets tough to pick true main event stars. I'd say Drew McIntyre as the number 2 guy in SmackDown. You know, he carried Raw in 2020 and half of 2021, and his addition to SmackDown has been good so far. Then I guess you could consider Sheamus, given his recent involvements with Drew, and also, like, every time on commentary they mention his achievements to put him on a pedestal. I keep saying a lot, I'm sorry. But yeah, you could also say Brock Lesnar, now that he's feuding with Roman Reigns. You could say he's on SmackDown, I guess. So maybe that's another main event star for him. But, you know, he's been feuding with Roman Reigns for the 6,000th time, so it's up for you to decide. Now for Raw, they have a stacked main event card. They have Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, Edge, Randy Orton, Riddle is getting a main event push. Theory's also getting one. You know, he's getting his rematch to the US title at SummerSlam. He's Mr. Money in the Bank, the youngest Mr. Money in the Bank even. So yeah, he's getting the push of a lifetime right now. Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, and there might be more, but I can't remember. That's just off the top of my head. I think it's clear to see Raw has a better main event. It's clear to also see what brand is Vince's favourite. Now for the mid-card, it does actually get bright for SmackDown, because they have Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion. He could easily be a main event star in the future, should they push him correct. Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E when he returns to action, hopefully. Sami Zayn, who is just amazing every time he's on the screen. I love watching him, he's funny. Baron Corbin, I'd count him, he's very underrated in my opinion. And if utilised correctly, I think Drew Gulak could actually be a hidden gem, because they had him feuding with Daniel Bryan at some point, and they looked like they were going to push him as the next Daniel Bryan, because he's good at technical wrestling, submissions, all of that. And then I guess you could also say Mason Mansoor. Now they have a group with Max Dupree or LA Knight, whatever you want to call him. Although I'm not sure if they'd be a tag team or just single stars. I guess only time will tell for that. Moving over to Raw, they have stars like The Miz, Rey Mysterio, Dolph Ziggler, Veer Mahan, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Omos, and I hesitated putting in Ezekiel on this list, but it's hard because WWE's roster as a collective is so thin in 2022, it's hard to think. But anyways, I'm going to give the mid-card to SmackDown, because I feel like they have loads of potential with Gunther as the IC champ. just as a collective, it looked good for the Blue Brand. The next part of the roster is the women's division. I'm just gonna name like the main wrestlers that come to the top of my head when I think of that. So for SmackDown, they have the new champ Liv Morgan, of course, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, Natalya, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Lacey Evans, Raquel Rodriguez, technically Sasha Banks and Naomi if they come back, but I guess they don't count for now. Raw have their champ Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Carmella and Zelina Vega. I think this one is a toss-up because SmackDown have noteworthy names, very noteworthy names. I'd say maybe more than Raw. But Raw's women though, however, they've been regularly main eventing the show, which is nice to see, but also just shows how they are just massive stars. They were also putting on great matches as well. Asuka, Becky Lynch just did a, I think it was a no-holds-barred match like last week, and that was good. So their feuds are more interesting as well, I'd say. So I'm going to give this the women's division to Raw, simply because of how it's being utilised. Now lastly, in terms of the roster, is the tag division. I'm going to go through this quickly, as it's very small on both brands at the moment. SmackDown have the Usos, the New Day, the Viking Raiders, and Los Lotharios. I'm pretty sure that's about it. Raw also has the Usos. They have Judgment Day, the Street Profits, the Mysterios, and the Dirty Dogs, I think, because Dolph Ziggler just came back and it looks like he's a face now. So I don't know if they're going to continue as a team or he's going to get a singles push. So yeah, that's their tag teams as well, I'm pretty sure. So I'll just say Raw wins. They have more teams and they're full of much larger names than SmackDown's roster. So when it comes to the overall roster, Raw wins by a pretty big margin, but that's not to say SmackDown's is bad, it just does not have as much star power as Raw. Now for the weekly shows. Now this is where it gets interesting. So I want to start off by saying it's easier to watch SmackDown because it's 2 hours in comparison to 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. However, both shows are very inconsistent in terms of progressing storylines. Some weeks just don't hit like they should and feel like a waste of an episode, and then the next week it could be great and leave you wanting more. What SmackDown lacks is the big names featuring on their show, as all of them are on Raw. And what Raw lacks is a world champion, because, well, Roman Reigns never turns up, and if he does, on a rare occasion, he's just on SmackDown doing a promo. SmackDown definitely has potential if they build their unestablished stars they have in their brand, including the names I mentioned earlier, and someone like Madcap Moss, for example. When I think of good modern day wrestling, I think of SmackDown in 2016. If they could follow that format for the current roster, I think they could genuinely take it far, but sadly I don't think that'll happen. I enjoy most of the matches, however, want to throw my TV out the window when I see Viking Raiders vs Jinder Mahal and fucking Shanky taking up precious hours of Friday nights. But with, I say, a few tweaks, probably many tweaks, it could be so much better than it is. Now Monday Night Raw is a different playing field. It can be either good all the way through and make you forget it lasts 3 hours, which in my opinion happened with the last one. I had no idea that the time was up. I really enjoyed it. However, other shows, half the time, you could be enjoying it and then you would have to drag yourself through the rest of it. So, where am I? You know, the writers have to scratch their heads to find out how the fuck they're going to fill 3 hours of TV time with interesting storylines. However, this show gets a huge bonus because of the stacked roster, which has put it in a far better state than it was during the pandemic era of Raw, because that was very questionable. The matches are entertaining for the most part, and storylines, they're definitely managed better than SmackDown's. They're focused a lot more on. I mean, Vince definitely tries to make it clear that Raw is his A show. I think the show's downfall, I think it's its own downfall because of the 3 hour TV time and all of the filler with like the 24/7 segments, random squash matches, a cluster of backstage interviews, but they can't help the show being 3 hours, and it will never change because Vince has got to chase the bag, and you can't blame him for it. Overall, both shows are good, but I think Raw once again wins over SmackDown, as with my personal experience, it's more consistent with having shows better than SmackDown. So what we've learned from this video is that Vince loves Raw way more than SmackDown, so he just sacrificed their roster for the betterment of Raw. I mean, look at Hell in a Cell. I'm pretty sure there was 6 matches from Raw and 2 from SmackDown. It just doesn't get the same love from the WWE. I'm pretty sure the next draft is in October, so I hope they try and balance out the rosters, giving some bigger stars to SmackDown so both shows can excel at the same time and return to the levels we both know that they can. So I'm going to end the video here. If you made it this far somehow, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.